All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third Tuesday of the month. That means it is our newcomer call. So I'll like to be the first to welcome any newcomer since our last call, since last month. If you have joined Activz, we welcome you. But more importantly, we appreciate you and we are thankful for you for joining and for listening to those that introduce you that may be on the call with you this evening. We are blessed to have our CEO, David Brown, on the call, as well as our COO, Angie Hawthorne, and a special guest, Hunter. Yes, buddy. Great to have you joining us. As you can see, it's definitely a family affair. We treat everyone here at Activz as families or as family members. We appreciate each and every one of you again for joining. And the host for tonight's call is none other than our CEO, David Brown. I've known David Brown for many years, and I've listened to a lot of his presentation. What I do want to say is his message gets kind of boring because it's the same message every time, meaning he doesn't deviate from his values. He doesn't deviate from what he believes that Activz is and should be. He doesn't deviate from his belief in each and every one of you. His delivery, however, on how he presents his message is always different. And I get chicken skin and I'm always baffled by how great of a job he does in delivering his message of putting people first, of creating a company that has cutting edge science. And more so a company that values its people, unlike any other company that I've known, been a part of, or have friends working. And so I'm very grateful that we have our CEO, David Brown, presenting and hosting tonight. And so without further ado, I will turn the time over to David Brown.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks, Angie. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. If you've ever wondered about Stu, let me tell you a little bit about it, okay? I won't tell everything I know about him, but Stu lives in Hawaii. Excuse me. He is one of our vice presidents of sales. He handles the Pacific region as well as works with the mainland and the United States. And if you ever wonder why he's always happy, it's because Stu's been given warning about what the day is going to be like before. He deals with Japan, and they're like 8 hours ahead of you, 6 hours ahead of you. We're 3 hours ahead. So we always can tell him, Stu, be happy. The day's going to be great. And so, and if it's not going to be great, we let him know, and he just stays in his house, doesn't go outside into the warm Hawaiian sunshine. And so he's got it covered. Wouldn't you like to have somebody go before you all the time and just tell you it's going to be a great day? But it's always a great day for Stu. So it's great to be here. And it really is nice to see familiar faces and names, and some of those that are not familiar yet, but I hope to get to know you and learn more about your story and really what we are as a company of stories. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about how we came to be, what we're all about, where we're going, and the things we hope to accomplish. So to do that, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll go forward. So if you want to figure out what we're all about, this is a slide that actually kind of embarrasses me sometimes. Here we say we are an executive team with a proven industry track record. We are great. You should join us just because we're awesome. That's kind of what this slide seems to say, right? Well, in the case of Ryan and Angie, they certainly are awesome. But I got to admit, if you're asking yourself, why would I join a company like this? And why would I tell other people that they ought to join it? Well, I guess it's just like your mother used to say, you are the company that you keep. And so if you want to keep a good company, I think you should feel comfortable joining us. We have had a lot of success. But what's interesting when people say, why did you start Activz? Our story might be a lot like the reason that you joined Activz. We had success in varying degrees with working for other people at other companies, doing other things. And yet we wanted to get together with people that we wanted to work with. with the ability to have even more freedom, financial freedom and otherwise. And we wanted to be able to change lives and make a difference and not just feel like we were punching a clock all the time. And so we got together and we said, okay, those are all great things. And they're not really unique dreams to us. Lots of people want that. So, but you need a vehicle for that. And we were able to come up with a vehicle in the form of Activz that had great opportunities, not only for us, but for other people. And the one thing that we knew is that we could not be successful just on our own, that we needed other people to join us. And in fact, we wanted them to, and we wanted to create something that they would want to be part of. You know, I came across something that I think is going to be the mantra for Activz going forward. It is already kind of the unofficial theme. I didn't even know about it, but you probably have heard of the famous management consultant named Peter Drucker. He said something really interesting one time that I think applies to Activz. When you are talking about putting a business together, consultants and business professors and everyone will say, well, you have to have a business plan. You got to talk about your strategy. You got to prepare your tactics. And all those things are important. You have to do pro formas and figure out your budgets and all those type of things. But you know what Peter Drucker said in regards to the elements of what's really necessary for a company to be successful? He said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, meaning that strategy is not unimportant. But culture is the most important thing. And that's true whether you're a big company, a small company, a one-man or one-woman shop, or a huge behemoth. If the culture is not there, you're going to suffer. And that's one thing that we strive for, maybe paramount above all other things, is to have a culture where, yeah, we might be a little boring, in the words of Stu, but we are the same. What you see is what you get. And we're certainly not slick. So who is Activz? Well, if you look at this picture, you might say, well, Activz is a company that likes to give away money. Yep, we like to give away money. We like to give money to people. We like to get together on boats and go to the Dominican. Was this Dominican? No, this is Costa Rica. I think the last incentive trip. We like to get together in large groups. We attract celebrities. Like Andrea Jaeger, the former #1 tennis women's champion in the world, who's now working with a charity and sees what we can do for her charity and the people that join her. So we're all of those things. But what really got us together initially was the opportunity to present a product that we call GNM-X for genome expression, this cutting edge gene therapy. Now you can read this slide on your own, but I'm gonna kind of walk you through this a little bit. And so it all kind of starts with this guy in the middle, okay? Dr. Joe McCord. And he's with his team from Pathways Biosciences. Some of us that were involved with another company got to know him when he was, through his work with oxidative stress, free radical biology, and NRF2 activation. All of those things that if you're new, you're thinking, what is this all about? Is this going to turn into a science lecture? Well, if you know me very much, yes, it is going to turn into a little bit of a science lecture because I like science. But what it's really going to turn into is, again, hopefully reinforcing your decision to join Activz as something is really different. There's nothing else out there like us. There are some imitators. There are some people that say they're close, but I'm telling you, there's nothing else like this. So let's talk about why this is important to you. Okay, I think that this picture says it all, right? I think I don't even probably need to give it any introduction. Well, I will give it a little bit of introduction anyway, okay? The one on the left, my left, I'm not sure how you're seeing it, the babies, I threw that in there for a couple of reasons, okay? One, my daughter is going to be induced tomorrow and have her 5th child. So I'm about to become a papa for the 5th time tomorrow. And so there'll be another baby in the Brown family. But you know, as we look at babies, they're all different. You know, we know they have certain genetics, genes that all of us are born with that control eye color and hair color and shape and size and all those type of things. And so you say, well, what does that have to do with anything on the right? Okay, a wolf, a toadstool, a sequoia tree. What's all that got to do? Well, did you know that all of us share something in common? We are, and this doesn't make us sound very special until I talk about it a little bit more, but every single living thing on Earth has one thing in common. We are carbon-based, okay? That is the predominant element that we need for life, is carbon. And you might say, well, why is that so important? Well, it's important for a lot of reasons, because there's something that happens in all life forms that we provide cutting edge therapy and science for, okay? That's called oxidation and reduction, sometimes called redox, okay? And it's manifests in lots of things that you never really think about. So when you cut an apple and you expose it to the air, meaning oxygen, guess what? It starts to turn brown because there's a chemical reaction that's starting to take place. It's also seen in corrosion. That's a chemical reaction, all right? It happens in combustion, where the fire and the flame is there, okay? It's all a matter of oxygen molecules being given and taken away. It has to do with decay. It's also very important and something we like to do every day and should for as long as we can. Cellular respiration. We should breathe, okay? Breathing's good. When we stop breathing, you should start worrying if you're able to. Now, all of these things, you might say, well, what's that all about? Well, what does that have to do with genomics? Well, what it has to do with is that all of those chemical processes that I just talked about that involve oxygen and involve carbon, guess what? They're pretty damaging, and they're happening to us every day. You can say, well, what do you mean combustion? What kind of combustion is going on? Well, whenever our cells burn fuel, all right, guess what's happening? There's combustion going on. And just like when we put gasoline in our cars and we burn that in our cars, guess what? That gasoline doesn't burn 100% cleanly. That's why we have a tailpipe to get rid of all those effluents, the exhaust and things. And none of us would really think it's a good idea to put our mouth up and breathe the exhaust that's coming out of a tailpipe. That wouldn't be good for us because that's just the byproduct of combustion, right? Well, and we know that there's a buildup that occurs in the engine, even though we have a catalytic converter or other things to try to clean it up. And that's really what happens when we are burning food. There's also there's corrosion that occurs by virtue of us being exposed to oxygen. So our cells are being damaged, just like the cells in the apple is being damaged. When we are breathing, we are exchanging oxygen and creating these nasty little creatures, these nasty little molecules called free radicals. And those are the things that are involved in all of those chemical processes that cause damage. So I don't know about you, but I want to make sure that any damage caused by corrosion, by decay, by oxidation, all of which is occurring in our lives each and every second, that we can deal with it. Because the important reason for dealing with it is because it causes us to look older faster. It causes us to be unhealthy. It causes inflammation. It weakens us and makes us more susceptible to disease. So what if I told you you can have a secret weapon, okay? And that secret weapon is genomics. And that was created by Dr. Joe McCord. You know, I showed you all those pictures of those different animals and told you about all these life forms. When he was a PhD student, way back in the late 60s at Duke University, he was studying, they came across a molecule in a number of different types of animals. And they said, what is this? And they were so fascinated by it, they went and they brought in every type of living thing they could, from animals, hamsters, porcupines, rabbits, all this kind of stuff, to plants, pumpkins, squash, all these things. And they found that everything had this molecule in it. And they said, well, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it does. But if every living thing on Earth has it, there must be a reason. Well, it finally developed a name. And what they called it was superoxide dismutase. And that's a mouthful, and you don't need to remember it. But you can say, well, okay, then why did nature put it in every living thing? And the reason for that is all of these free radicals we talked about, this chemical process that I mentioned, corrosion and decay. One of the big bad guys involved in that is something called superoxide. We can't avoid it. It's part of, you know, as long as we're breathing, as long as we're eating, we're going to produce it, and it's going to cause damage. So superoxide dismutase, nature gave us a tool, and superoxide dismutase was designed to take it out, to reduce it. Unfortunately, as we get older, we don't produce as much of that or other things. And so That's where it's really important to have products like Genome-X. Now you might say, what's this all about? Well, I mentioned earlier when I showed the picture of the babies that we learned something about genes in our high school biology classes. We learned that we can inherit genes from our mother for this color of eyes or that. But one thing that scientists didn't know for a long time was that we could actually, not only could we, but we do have an impact upon all of our genes by the things that we do, by the foods that we eat, the things that we drink, the lifestyle, the air that we breathe, and even more importantly, the words that we speak. I was just reading an article the other day in which it was discussed about how harsh words can imprint themselves on a young child's brain and cause genetic changes in that child and, excuse me, and in the brain of the person who uttered them. It's kind of crazy. Fortunately, the inverse is also true, that positive words can have a genetic influence upon those listening and those speaking. Now, this is something that came to us from Pathways Biosciences. And what it represents are the thousands of genes affected by Genome-X. You notice that they're different colors. The green and the red are showing showing levels of gene expression. Those that are turned on, those that are turned off, those that are modulated and put in exactly the right space where they're supposed to be. And that's really the power of Genome-X, because you have, sometimes you read about products that are immune system boosters. It kind of sounds like a good thing, right? Unless you're suffering from an autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis or fibromyalgia or lupus. The last thing you want is an immune system booster, because your immune system's already boosted. And if you boost it more, you're going to have more problems. But on the other hand, if you have a weak immune system, you're more susceptible to viruses and pathogens and things that can make you sick. So what you really want is your immune system to be modulated, meaning put in the right level, the right frequency, so to speak. So it's where it needs to be at the various times of life that we are exposed to these things. That's what Genome-X does. It modulates the gene expressions of thousands of survival genes to put them in just the right spot. I like to look at it this way, that there are times when we're going through traffic and we would love to have all greens all the way to get to our destination. What's our destination? Health. Health and thriving physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't say things, even though oxidative stress and this cumulative damage caused by these free radicals is the prevailing theory on why we age. I don't say things like, if you take Genome-X, you're going to live longer. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, I kind of think we live as long as we're supposed to live. But one thing I do know is that we may not be able to affect the length of our life, but we can definitely affect the health and the vibrancy and the robustness that we have during life. So I want to have a green light going all the way as long as I can. And I want to have red lights for things that are trying to take me down, for viruses and pathogens and sicknesses and illnesses and inflammation, things that will cause my body and my brain and my emotions and every aspect of my life not to be exactly where I want them to be. So that's where Genome-X comes in. Now, the good news is we're not just a one-trick pony. We have LINQ, which is a perfect companion. And the butyric acid that is its primary ingredient was once described by one of our scientists as a God molecule, by another one as the holy grail of supplements. And that's because of its profound effect upon the gut, our gastrointestinal system, healing it, helping it to keep bad things out of our system and helping us to absorb nutrients more effectively. And most importantly, making sure that we strengthen that vital link between the gut and our brain that science has shown is really important to avoiding things not only like irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut syndrome, but also things that we really, those are tough enough. But we want to avoid neurological issues like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And butyric acid has a role in strengthening our body from the immune system, but also by making the pathways between the brain and the gut vibrant and acting like they should. And so there's a good reason we call it LINQ. And you want to keep, you don't want it to be, if you don't want to have the missing link, okay? If you have a missing link, make sure it's not this link. Don't be missing this one, because if you are, you'll be sacrificing something that can really help your brain and your gut and everything in between. OPTIMEND uses the same type of technology that LINQ does. We call it the SILECT technology. While there are maybe hundreds, I don't know, thousands of turmeric or curcumin products out there, they all have the same weakness. They all have the same weakness as having molecules that are way too big. The body can't absorb very well. And so we've solved that problem. When I say we, I mean the scientists that we've associated with. And if you ever wonder, you know, again, if you're at a company that has cutting edge technology, think about this. Think about that in every single bottle of LINQ, every single capsule of OPTIMEND, you're taking the active ingredient, which in LINQ is butyric acid. And while it has some wonderful qualities, has some kind of nasty ones too in terms of its smell and its taste. Then you have tetrahydrocurcumin on the other hand for OPTIMEND, which is not stinky, doesn't taste bad, but it's too big for the body to use. So they use the same technology. And can you imagine, if you will, in which each molecule is forced to react and put into a cage, if you will. It's another molecule that it's forced into. And what it does in the case of butyric acid is covers up the taste, covers up the smell, and safely delivers it through the stomach acids and the gastrointestinal system into the small intestine, where because it also contains something called an amylase, it unlocks it. It has a DEX key. It really is kind of a key to this cage, keeping this active molecule safe, and then it opens up. So it can be used and metabolized and sent by the body where it needs to go. And so that it can help heal the gut. So it can help create new brain cells in your brain. So it can help create new collagen in your skin. That's what butyric acid has been linked to do. I think all of those are things that we'd like to have done. Because again, all of these things that I talked about, this oxidation that's occurring because of our exposure to air, because of our exposure to the sun, because of the things that we eat, they're not only wreaking havoc on the cells on the inside of our body, they're wreaking havoc on the cells on the outside of our body. And so we want to have an inside-outside approach to making ourselves be as young looking and young acting as we can. So that even though our chronological age might be progressing, we can't do anything about that, but our biological age, we can slow it down. We can actually, I kind of hesitate to say that we can reverse it. Let's just say that we can kind of put it on pause so that our cells biologically aren't aging at nearly the pace that the clock is ticking every single day. And that's something that the technology associated with Activz allows us to do. That's a perfect tie-in for Amora. When I talked about how we all know about the sun and pollution and just being out in the open, it's great. But it really wreaks havoc on the skin. And not only are the outside elements tough on our skin, but sometimes the blemishes that we see in our skin are really the outward manifestation of things that are going on. They're not quite right, especially in our gut. And we have not just the science to back it up, but many of you have probably experienced this, where some of your own skin conditions have been vastly improved by using our toner, our serum, and our mud, but especially in combination with LINQ and getting our gut health improved, that people are commenting, probably saying, wow, you look younger. Your skin looks better. What are you doing? And I don't know anybody that doesn't like to hear compliments like that. You know what's also really hard on the system? What's really hard on the system is carrying around a little bit too much weight. I was actually I went to the chiropractor today because I needed to get a bit of an adjustment on my back. And he's a guy that's a lot younger than me. He's probably in his late 30s, early 40s. Big guy, used to play football, and he's been losing weight. And he looks great. But he was talking about running, and he said, I still want to lose about 20 or 30 more pounds. And he said, man, I can't believe what a difference it makes when I go running after, when I've lost weight. And it kind of makes sense, right? Is it easier to run with a 30-pound backpack on your back or not carry it? And that's kind of what it's like when you're carrying extra weight. And so that extra weight not only makes it harder for us to exercise and kind of reduces our desire to do it, but it can kind of slow down our brain, it can slow down our metabolism, and it can also increase inflammation, making us more susceptible to health insults and health challenges that might come our way. And so that's where we understand that, because the fast food companies, the packaged goods companies, big food companies, right? They don't play fair. They know that certain combinations of sugar, salt, and fat are really addictive. And so when Lay's potato chips tells you, bet you can't eat just one, they mean it. Okay, they engineered it that way. And so we think here at Activz that if they're going to use science to try and trick us and get us hooked on their products, because believe me, I'm as susceptible as the next guy. All right, I could go the rest of my life without eating another potato chip. Okay, and it wouldn't cross my mind. However, if you put a bowl of potato chips within reach, okay, then I'll probably eat the whole thing and probably punch you if you try to take one from me. Okay, so I'm a perfect example of someone who knows what it's like to eat those things, like those things, even though intellectually I know it's not that good for me. So what do? We offered some really high-tech tools to combat that. Okay, if they're going to do some things to spike your blood sugar by virtue of the sugar and salt that you're taking, guess what? We have provided ingredients to help regulate and even out the blood sugar. If they're going to do things to make you feel hungry, we provided ingredients to help you feel full. We're going to give you energy so that you're not constantly having that crash because you spiked your blood sugar with a candy bar or spiked your blood sugar with something else. And so we're gonna help deal with those things. And in fact, we're even going to put ingredients in there to help turn bad fat cells called white fat cells into good brown fat cells. If that sounds like it's a little bit crazy, it's not. The science is there. It shows that it works. And so in fact, one of the best examples of that is when people tell us often after first going on AIRO, one of the first things we often hear about is that they say, I'm not really losing weight, but I seem to be losing inches. What's that all about? Well, what that's all about is actually affecting a transformation in your body and the structure and converting bad fat into good fat, allowing the body to do what it's designed to do. And ultimately, that's what we do at Activz. We don't do anything that the body's not already designed to do. We just want to put people in a place to become the best selves that they can. Well, and by doing so, we've been able to attract a really great world-class board of advisors from all types of walks of life, science, the military, medicine, and functional medicine. In fact, I'll drop a little bit of a surprise. Admiral Matt Winter, whom we haven't heard from in a while, is going to be speaking at the next Activz School in October. So mark your calendar. He's going to be there. I'm really looking forward to that. Got Dr. Rish Patel, a pain management specialist. Jeff Boast, who has assisted Dr. Marone in over 30,000 surgeries. Richard Jones, who's a very well-known media specialist, and it goes on. Now, one thing I would be remiss to omit, if I didn't say something about it, is that we talk about being different. We're different because of the type of products that we have. There's no doubt about it. We're different in the type of people that we attract, people who are not necessarily just attracted to glitz and glamour, but they're attracted to substance and something that's going to have staying power for them, their families, and others. And we also know that sometimes the words network marketing, the initials MLM scare people. There's all types of stereotypes that come to mind, some of which are true based upon real things and many of which are not. And I can tell you that we work really hard to make sure that we work against that stereotype. So no one can ever say to you, Diane Young, I can't believe you scammed me into that company. What were you thinking? Those products are terrible. We're not going to do it. Okay. And, but we also know that, we're not naive. We know that some people just won't do it once they hear those words. So we want to meet people where we find them. That means that we're going to offer our products through other channels and do it in a way that people will be attracted to us and become customers. And yet we're not going to be in competition. In fact, the limited basis that we've been doing this so far through Amazon and Facebook and some other social media platforms, those monies have all come back and put into the global bonus pools, and so that you can participate in those as well. And that's really a great feature of our compensation plan. People say, why did you go into network marketing in the first place? Your products are so great. Why don't you put them in the hands of doctors? Why don't you go down the pharmaceutical route? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Well, the short answer is we can much more easily and much more quickly on a much more widespread basis get these products out where they can do some good by doing it through network marketing than we ever could by doing it through practitioners, than we ever could by trying to take it through GNC, than we ever could in any other channel. I'm telling you, I've been in these other channels, and I know I'm not saying they're not right. I'm just saying that if you want to make a difference, you want to make it quick and do it quickly, word of mouth by people who have studied it and lived it and have their own testimonials, there's nothing that beats it. So where in the world is Activz now? Well, we're started in Mexico. We're going to be having our 5th anniversary in November. The US is a few years behind that, actually. We are in Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Japan, Taiwan, and through our Global Connect program in many other countries around the world where people are able to take advantage of the products and to some limited degree, even start working on their business. And so that's where we are now. But it's not where we're going to be in the next 5 years. You know, this map will have a lot more colors on it, and there will be a lot more activity going on in each of these markets. Now, some of you should have seen this picture of my little granddaughter, Annie. She loves to read. She loves to read Dr. Seuss, and here she is reading Green Eggs and Ham. I like Dr. Seuss a lot, and you probably heard me say that many people probably assume that this is my favorite book, Mr. Brown Can Moo, Can You? It's not. It's a good one. It's one of the classics, but it's not as good as this, Oh, the Places You'll Go. All right. And I was talking to somebody just the other day who was saying that they never thought that they would ever be able to leave the place where they grew up. And their mother and father never thought that they'd ever be able to leave the place that they grew up. They had dreams, they had other things that they wanted to do, but they never imagined that they would have the vehicle that would allow them to do it. And if you want to stay in the same place that you're at forever, good for you. But if you're pining to do something else, and I don't just mean physically, that you have to go and circle the world, although that's your dream, let's create a vehicle for you to do it. But if there's things that you want to do, if there's people that you want to meet, if there's things you want to accomplish, if there's things you want to save for and plan for and make a difference in, well, that's what Activz is all about. The very word Activz itself was developed and used as the name of our company so that we can help activate those things in people that really are just there beneath the surface. They just need to have a little bit of help along the way. And that's really what we're all about, okay? We're gonna climb this mountain together. Some of us have actually been physically, they're on this call, hiking together. We've helped each other up. We've helped each other in various places. And even more so, I know there's many people on this call, including members of our Activz team, where we've helped each other, not just physically, but emotionally and in all other types of ways, and just being there when it's necessary to be there. And that's the one thing I can promise you with Activz. Again, we'll probably be boring to some people. And actually, I kind of take that as a compliment, because frankly, if I have to be talking about glitz and glamour, and you're going to get your second house in Monte Carlo, and you're going to have your Lamborghini, and you're going to wear gold chains, and you can get a toupee if you want, not that I want, and all those type of things, that's not the type of company that we will ever be. Sometimes there are companies like that out there. That's what's created the stereotype in many cases of why we're this type of industry. And for some people, that is what they're looking for. And the good news for them is that they're not going to be happy here, but there are other opportunities for them. But I think the vast majority of people in the world are looking for something real. They want to do something to supplement their income. They want to do something to supplement and improve their health. And they want to become part of something bigger than themselves. And the timing is perfect for us. There's never been a better time to join Activz. If some of you have just joined, which I know you have on this call, The timing of you joining the company is probably better than the timing of the person who invited you to the company because the company's bigger. We're more solid. We have more things going on. It's much less risky than it was 5 years ago as a brand new startup. But the good news is we're still learning along the way. We're still very young. We still have a lot to learn. There's lots of opportunity along the way. So that's who we are. That's who you've joined. I hope I haven't scared you off. We've got a little bit more time before we have to end this call. And so if there's some specific calls or questions that you'd like me to address, or Angie or Stu or anybody else, we can do that. Does anybody have any questions?
You can take yourself off mute if you want to, or just type something in the chat, either way.
Well, I guess I put everybody to sleep, just like Stu predicted I would. So it's great. Well, Angie, since we don't seem to have any questions, do we have anything else planned for tonight for those who are participating?
We do, as a tradition for the newcomers call, we always give points for those that have a birthday in the month. So anyone that has a birthday in the month of September, take yourself off mute or put it in the chat and you'll get reward points.
I do.
Yay, Angela.
All right.
Congrats, Angela.
I do too, on the 28th.
Happy birthday.
Barbara.
Barbara.
And then look like Colleen in the chat. She typed hers.
Did Lorraine, it looks like Lorraine was too also. No? Oh, she was just congratulating somebody. Okay, I thought she was raising her hand.
Oh, Mom. David, I had a question. I just received.
Sorry, Coco. Too late. No, I was kidding.
I just received a text message, and even I say, well, enjoy the call and ask David. To say, what do you recommend for diabetic source, and what would be the doses? And I say, this person is overweight, and they say, no, they are not overweight. And maybe I say, I'm going to ask the question to you because probably a lot of people ask always the same question. What is the doses? They think that maybe because they had something dealing, the doses needs to be different, but maybe you can answer that.
Well, you know, we don't really, as you know, we don't give medical advice. I do know this, diabetic sores are really difficult to deal with. And those who are contending with them, it's a tough deal. And even doctors aren't entirely sure all the time why these sores don't heal. But I will say this, I have had experience and heard of situations where people through GNM-X and LINQ specifically have had some success with healing of those sores. And so what I would do is I would encourage them to, you hear the word from various doctors, Dr. Maroon and Dr. Earl have both used this, and Dr. Patel. They use the word titrate. Does everybody understand what that means? It really means to, start out with the recommended dose, and then little by little add some more if you're not getting the results that you want, and see what happens. So, if you start with 1 and then go to 2 or go to 1.5 and take it like that, not necessarily because there's dangers associated with it. I'm not worried about that. People are not going to, all of a sudden have issues if they take, too many. But it's more so that you can kind of understand what's going on with the body and to notice what's going on and because there's really no, I don't know of any particular study that would say, yes, this study shows that for this particular condition, take this amount. I don't have that type of information. But I do think that there is a connection to inflammation, circulation, and oxidative stress. And so those things we know that we make a difference in, and we know that. And I think, again, LINQ might be the key, but I think genomics will also be very helpful.
Thank you.
And what I'll do also is I'll spend some time looking into it, see what more I can find out. How's that?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, did we get all the birthdays?
There's another question in the chat.
Yes.
Oh, question in the chat.
David, there's a question that says, could you please address Dr. McCord's alignment or his relationship with Activz from the previous company, and also the difference between the formulas? I guess they're referring to Protandim and Genomics.
Okay, yeah, we have a license agreement with Pathways Biosciences, which allows us to offer genomics. He still, you'll find that neither we nor Dr. McCord will ever say anything bad about any of the formulas with which he's had any association. Protandim was the first one. It continues to be sold, and the characterization I give of that is, I think of the cell phone I was using at the time that I first became aware of Protandim. It was a flip phone, one of those razor phones. It was awesome. It had a great ringtone. It was thin. It fit easily into my coat pocket. Loved it. Okay. It could take pictures. It could text. It could do all those type of things. But remember, it couldn't text the way we text now. It had to go AAA, BBB, CCC to send a message. It took forever. The photos weren't that great. And there are lots of things you couldn't do. Now we have a smartphone, and it basically becomes our office, and we can do all types of things. And even though the razor still, I can probably still find a razor. You can still make a phone call. You can still text, but it's just not the best tool. It doesn't represent the cutting edge of science. And Genomics does. Now, when we first spoke with Dr. McCord and Pathways Biosciences about the several formulas, they'd actually developed 3 formulas, all of which were superior in terms of potency to Protandim. And they said, which one of these would you like to have? And they gave us information about the ingredients and the various potency levels of these 3 formulas. And so we looked at the potency levels, and we said, well, actually, we would like to have the most potent one, as indicated by your own science. And that's the one that we chose. And the other reason for that is that the other one they call PB125, and that they're selling themselves in the United States, has ashwagandha in it. And that is an ingredient that's we can't use in Mexico or Japan. And so we wanted to be able to have a formula that we could use worldwide. And so I think it is confusing for the average person. And there's many questions as to why a scientist would have all these formulas out there. It's a little confusing. From a purely business standpoint, I probably would, is not kind of the recommended course I would give to somebody in terms of how to properly build a business. But that is our relationship, and so it's worked out well. We pay a royalty on every unit of Genomics that we sell and goes out, and so no matter where that is, and they receive those royalties and have been ever since we started. So that's the relationship. Any other questions? Okay.
I think we're good. Yep. Angie, any other things? We got all the names that we needed for the birthdays.
There's another question.
Oh.
Touch on cardiovascular.
Scott has something on cardiovascular issues in regards to how our products work with that, Coach Scott, or yes. So David, basically he's asking, how does our products, I don't know if there's one specifically or if it's a blend of the trifecta, how does that work with our cardiovascular health?
Well, it's interesting that all 3 units of the trifecta, Genomics and LINQ and OPTIMEND, their ingredients have been shown to have beneficial effects upon the cardiovascular system. Probably the paramount way in which it does that. All of them, there's some overlapping benefits that these products have, and that overlapping benefit is the reduction of inflammation. And inflammation is really what is causing most of the issues in regards to cardiovascular disorders. And that it could be inflammation in the blood vessels, themselves. So the circulatory system, when that occurs, they become less efficient. And so they can't carry blood as easily. And that leads, of course, to things like high blood pressure and other things. And also the inflammation of the heart muscle itself can occur, and that inflammation can damage the heart wall and other cells associated with that. And so an oxidative stress, the same thing. So what's also interesting about oxidative stress is that it causes the lipids or the fats that we consume, like cholesterol and C-reactive protein and other fats that are found in our blood. Once those become oxidized, they become a lot stickier. And when they become sticky, that's when the problems occur, because then they don't just pass through the blood and be disposed of by the body. They start sticking to the cell wall, or to the arterial walls. And what happens is just like buildup on a pipe because of, say, calcium or some other mineral in water. So a pipe that started this big shrinks and shrinks and shrinks because of that buildup. And that increases. So if the same amount of water is trying to get through there, what's happening? That means that it's putting pressure, and so it can actually break that pipe. And so it causes high blood pressure. So that reduction in oxidative stress, that reduction in oxidized lipids, actually reduces atherosclerosis, or the risk of atherosclerosis, which is what that is. And so that's also a very big tie to the cardiovascular system. So, and then the same thing is true of butyric acid. It has a downward effect upon inflammation, and also helps. It's very tied to something called, wow, sorry, I'm kind of turning into a science geek right here, but something called the glycocalyx, which is something that lines, is a substance that lines all of our arteries and all of our veins. And when it's damaged, it reduces the circulatory function of the capacity of our circulatory system. And so anyway, our products have a beneficial effect upon that as well. So yes, take it every day and don't forget it. And that doesn't just go for Scott, by the way, that goes for everybody. When I say that every single person should be on these products, I'm not just saying that because I'm the CEO and I'm like, oh yeah, let's make more money, let's make up this. No, it is absolutely true. There's not a person living on this earth, really, who can't benefit from these products. So.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And for all those who are new to the company, we have a YouTube channel that you can go on there, Activz Corporate. And on that YouTube channel, we'll have all our recorded videos of these, of our calls, our testimonial calls we have first of the month. Also, these newcomer calls, as well as our active schools that we have guest speakers, and included in those are those from our scientific advisory board, Dr. Brett Earl, Joe Maroon, and all these wonderful professional doctors that specialize in their fields. And in there, through some of these videos and presentations, especially Dr. Earl, as well as Dr. Maroon, they specifically talk about exactly what David just presented and explained. So if you have chance or if you have time, go ahead to a YouTube channel and you will be able to watch different videos that talk about the science of our products and the way it affects the body directly. So we have all those resources available to you. It's also on our app. We have an app, Activz app, that you can download on your smartphone, that also have videos on there and presentations that specifically talk about our product and the way it affects your body. So all these resources are for you, and we're constantly updating and looking for better tools to enable you to grow your business here at Activz.
Hey, Stu?
Yes.
Let me just say one more thing.
Yes.
I feel like I maybe got a little bit too technical tonight, and it's because I really like the products and really like the science. But it's really important that all of you know, you don't have to know all that stuff, okay? When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, he didn't, he actually did have conferences where he would talk to technical people and go through all the science and all that kind of stuff. But to the masses, he didn't do it. He just said, here's what it can do, use it. And they liked it. And really, I want to make sure that we go back to the business opportunity for all of you. The business opportunity is that you have something that everybody needs and can only get from you. That's the business opportunity. So really, the only thing you have to do is just share mostly benefits, share videos, share things. Just be the messenger. You don't have to be the message. You don't have to talk about the glycocalyx. You don't have to talk about the 9 types of, oxidation and reduction. You don't have to do all that kind of, you just don't like to know it, okay? I like to read it. I don't have any kids at home. This is what I do in my spare time, okay? I'm a geek that way, okay? But you don't have to be that way. All you have to do is share the basics. And as you do, you'll find that, and that goes through the compensation plan also. I know some of our best leaders who say, I don't really know how the compensation plan works. All I know is that as I share it with other people, the company sends me checks. And that's really what it boils down to. Just sharing, and that's how it works. And help, and then as you share, you help them share. And that's where the business opportunity comes in. And I guess I just went into it because I want to make sure that everyone here, if you have any reservations about the kind of company that you're part of, it really is real. It's built upon sound principles, just like Stu started out with. It's a strong foundation that you can believe in. And as you believe in it, other people will believe in you as well. So, okay, Stu, I just felt the need to clarify that.
Awesome, thanks, David. Well, I think that concludes our call. We will be having our US English speaking corporate update call tomorrow, which is Wednesday, at 1 p.m. Mountain time. So adjust your time zones or time depending on where you are in the country. And just real quick, I just looking at the chat, I think on August 2nd, we had our testimonial call. And in that call, Rosario talked about her dog and, how it affected, the products affected her dog. And so, as I pointed out on our Activz YouTube page, go ahead and look at those or listen to those testimonials, because they'll talk about how it affects, people's health as well as their canines. And I know Angie always talks about her horse, and we have others that, talked about how our products also affected their animals. And so take the time to go ahead and look through those videos. They are very beneficial, but more importantly, as David pointed out, this cutting edge technology really works. And the way you can know that it works is by taking it yourself. I love our products. I love OPTIMEND more than anything else. It definitely helps me get through the day and get me going and working out with these high school kids. And so look forward to talking more with all the newcomers on these calls, as well as meeting you in person one of these days. Otherwise than that, Angie, I think we're good, right?
We are good. So thank you all for joining the call tonight. And as you said, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Great to see you.
Bye-bye. Great. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.
Great call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello to all the newcomers. So glad you're on.